And welcome back to the Gridiron Address. What a football Sunday it was. I'm having a fantastic time. Jason, you not as much, but Chris, your Steelers, they picked up a win against a really good Colts team, which we will talk about later in the show. But Chris, Jason, always happy to have you all on. How are you doing tonight?
Good, man. Blessed to be on, man. I appreciate you having me.
Hey, man, Dodgers won the World Series. It's all that matters to me. I mean, I'm very happy the Steelers won, but I'm still kind of head over heels over the previous Game 7, which we will be talking about in Dugout Debrief here on Thursday.
Epic series, man. It really was.
Podcast Smitty in the comments, bang, bang, Niner gang. Yeah, Christian McCaffrey had an absolutely monster game. I will forever be bitter that Carolina couldn't get a first-round pick for that guy. Stupid trade, absolutely ridiculous. But let's talk about something good that the Carolina Panthers just did earlier today. They pulled off what felt like a massive upset over the Green Bay Packers. I think they're almost 14-point underdogs. Their defense stepped up. They were able to limit a really talented Packers offense. Obviously, Tucker Kraft went down with that injury. I don't think we know the extent of it just yet. Hopefully he will be back because he was having a monster year. And Rico Dowdle had another great game. He's finally getting the RB1 carries like he deserves. I do feel for Chuba Hubbard a little bit because he was so great for Carolina last year. And Dowdle comes in and takes his job. And it raises a very interesting question for me. Because when Dowdle's been given the bulk of the carries, he's shown that he has to be RB1, but he's on a one-year deal, and Carolina just paid Chuba Hubbard last year. Chris, I'll throw this to you first. Do you think the Panthers will spend big money on two running backs, or do they trade Hubbard and sign Dowdle, or like vice versa?
It's a hard question, man, because really this isn't baseball like I talked about top of the show where you're trading a guy away, high value to another team for some prospects. You don't really see these like really blockbuster trades in the NFL. Like the deadline is not really a thing in the NFL. But it would not surprise me. Both running backs are really, really fantastic. Obviously, Chuba Hubbard got paid a good amount for his really good talents. Chuba Hubbard at Oklahoma State. And Dowdle has been fantastic. But I really think that Dowdle's the guy to go in to the future because he's been the most recent success. And that's what you look at with running backs. It's kind of whatever is right in front of you right now. It wouldn't surprise me if maybe you try and trade Chuba, but I mean, how much are you really going to get? The NFL is really weird with trades. It's not like this big thing where you can go and get some superstar. It's really weird. And especially when you're talking about a running back who, with running backs, you really can't get like crazy value. So I see them maybe trading Chuba, but they're not going to get a lot for him if they do.
And Jason, what do you think the Panthers are going to do about their running back situation?
Well, historically, especially after trading away CMC, they don't spend a lot of money, especially on names like that. Their salary cap is not bad. So, I mean, they have the salary cap to do it. It just depends on how expensive Rico, is going to be, whether he, signs something or tests free agency. I think it can work. Again, it's worked at other teams. You look at Detroit, you look at Tampa Bay. The dual running back threat is needed nowadays in the NFL, especially with injuries, etc. So the smart thing the Carolina Panthers can do is sign Rico and have Rico and Chupa and have a really good running back, team back there for him. Are the Panthers going to do something smart? that remains to be seen, because their history again, they've done some pretty stupid things. So we'll see what happens at the end. But I think Rico deserves it, man. He's right now number one. He is just on a tear. It's no fault of Chuba. I mean, that's what happens in the NFL. Sometimes you get hurt, you lose your spot, and you got to run with the hot hand. But we'll see. We'll see what Carolina does. They have the space, so just don't do anything stupid.
And I really do hope they keep both of the running backs. I think having that running back room as strong as you possibly can for Bryce Young is going to be critical, because, like we've talked about before, he needs the support of a really strong run game. And Jason, like you mentioned, the two-headed monster running back room that's become more and more prevalent. And I really I think we could maybe see Shade, Williams, Jonathan Stewart kind of situation like we saw in Carolina a decade and a half ago. That was a really fun team to watch, and I hope they do. And Jason, I know they've done some silly things in the past, but they made a smart decision in giving Dowdle the RB1 job. So fingers crossed that this is a good change of pace. But Chris, we've got to talk about your Steelers. Their defense finally came alive. They limited an MVP candidate in Jonathan Taylor, only 40-something yards on the ground. That was super impressive. And they picked off Indiana Jones 3 times in that game. Chris, do you think that this is finally the Steelers defense coming alive and this is a return to form that we expect to see from this unit? Or was this just the Colts having a bit of a coming back down to earth game?
I think it's a little bit of both, honestly. I mean, the Steelers defense performed fantastic. I mean, everybody saw, I'm sure, that video of them doing the funeral for the Steelers defense before in front of Heinz Field, which I honestly thought was very funny. But honestly, like I really did say that the Colts kind of worry me. They kind of remind me of like the 2020 Steelers in a sense, like the 8-0 start for them and then 7-1 for the Colts. They kind of reminded me of a team that started very well but may not succeed in the playoffs. I think their record doesn't always reflect who they are. I still think they're a very good team. Daniel Jones has been fantastic this year. But, I mean, it's a turnaround game regardless. It really felt good to beat the best team in football. Does that mean that we are on a turnaround? That's hard to say. I mean, you guys can answer that as much as I can. I more think that we're going to do exactly what I said we were going to do in the past few episodes of the show, which is win, lose. So it's a good reflection, but at least a bounce back from the defense being able to pick off a potential MVP candidate 3 times and holding another MVP candidate, Jonathan Taylor, to basically nothing.
And Jason, do you think that this is going to be a return to form for the Steelers defense, or are the Colts just coming back down to earth and they're going to have a 2020 Steelers-esque kind of midseason collapse?
Well, this just in, TJ Watt is still good, guys. I mean, he was phenomenal in this game. That defense definitely followed his lead. You shut Taylor down. Again, my MVP right now, get my vote MVP with Taylor, only had 45 yards rushing. So you shut the run game down. You pressured Daniel Jones. He looked a little bit like Danny Dimes out there. Indiana Jones looked more like the Crystal Skull Indiana Jones. He didn't look like the Last Crusade Indiana Jones. So a little bit of concern there. You know, he's not used to being on top and winning. So little concern there in Indy, but they're still a good team. But yes, Pittsburgh, they needed to win this game. Look, the Ravens are coming. I know their defense is terrible. I know they played against the Dolphins on Thursday night. So, you know, let's take it easy with, you know, the Ravens are coming, but they're there. And so the Steelers need to keep pace so they don't feel Lamar breathing down their neck, because, you know, he is an MVP. So, you know, watch out for the Raiders. So Pittsburgh, they need to take this and be consistent with it. Just don't go out next week and lay another egg. Take this. You beat the best team in the NFL right now. Take that motivation, go into that next game, and be the dominant Steelers team that you know you can be. Because if they don't, the Ravens can come up and catch you from behind. So big victory. They needed it.
That was a very Steelers win is overall my take on it.
Nobody wins ugly games like Mike Tomlin and the Pittsburgh Steelers.
It's your catchphrase at this point, man.
TJ Watt did have a good game, but you feel like you also got to shout out Peyton Wilson, 14 total tackles and an interception.
Right there.
NC State guy, he absolutely killed it. He had a great game. Carolina had an opportunity to draft him, and I really wish they had because I think he's going to be a really, really good linebacker in the league. But moving on, Jason, we got to talk about your New York Giants. Obviously, last week, Cam Scadaboo went down.
Giant tissues.
Brutal injury, and they lose 34-24 to a really good Niners team they're finally getting it together. Felt like last year was a big disappointment. This year, they're still kind of banged up, but not as banged up as last year. So we're seeing the 49ers team that we're used to. I mean, look, I'm so happy with that Carolina win. After our good friend Carson had sent a message when Bryce Young threw that interception, and
where's Carson?
I'm having a great time.
Carson, where are you at?
Well,
where's the Packer fans? But anyway,
with your amazing uniforms that you were clowning us last week for in Sunday Night Football.
I mean, both of them were really bad, Chris. We got to be honest. Neither one of them were good.
It looks like paper bags out there. No, it
was
terrible.
Bad.
Terrible.
We got a little sidetracked, but let's right the ship. At this point in the season, Jason, it's functionally over for the Giants, and this is when talk about buying or selling tends to come up as we get closer to the deadline. As Chris mentioned before, the NFL trade deadline isn't like the MLB trade deadline. We don't see a lot of big moves happening. It's usually a lot of smaller things. But Jason, do you think the Giants are going to make any kind of moves at the deadline, acquiring any guys, trading guys away? I've seen Kayvon Thibodeau in trade rumors. He could potentially be gone. What do you see the Giants doing? Or do they? I don't
think they do anything. I wouldn't let Joe do anything because I don't feel that he's going to be there at the end of the season. So I have a feeling that right now those decisions are being frozen up on top because that team, they have really good personnel, especially on defense, but tackle 101. That game was ridiculous today. They couldn't tackle anybody. They looked terrible out there. They look lost. Defensively, they're just not what they were supposed to be at the beginning of the season. Offensively, you have Jackson Dart, and that's about it. With a bunch of injuries, hopefully you can get him back next year. I'm surprised Dart is still in there. I would pull him for the rest of the season because you do not want him to get injured right now. He is the future of there. Put Jameis in there, put Russell Wilson back in there, get Dart out of there. The season is done. The coaching staff, I believe they will be gone by the end of the season, and I believe that GM will be gone if he won't be gone by tomorrow. So I have a feeling there's not going to be a lot of trading going on in New York. They have great personnel. They just are not coached very well, and they need a few pieces, which I think they can get in the offseason, especially when they get guys back from injury. But our biggest Achilles heel right now is coaching. So, but I don't see them buying or selling. Maybe a small move here and there. Thibodeau, I love him. I hope they keep him. I hope they keep that core defensive line. I think they can be a great unit. They're not being coached well right now. So very disappointing loss. You lost to Mac Jones and CMC. Mac Jones, who got booted out of New England, got booted out of Jacksonville, got a bloody nose today, but still whooped up on you. CMC, who couldn't even stand up last year, is having a MVP-esque season. That 49ers team has more injuries than just about every team out there in the NFL, and you looked horrendous against them with no energy. Again, Jackson Dart is your only bright spot. Please take him out so he doesn't get hurt.
And there's Michael in the comments. Finally, a Gridiron Address without a Cowboys L. You're right. And also, I want to point out that you were noticeably absent from the comments when the Panthers beat the Cowboys. So It's nice to see you popping in, though, but I wish you were there for that show. And Chris, I'll throw that to you before we move on. Do you think the Giants make any moves at the trade deadline, or do you agree with Jason that they're just going to ride it out because there's more than likely going to be some massive changes in front office and coaching personnel?
Yeah, I mean, I got to kind of agree with Jason here. I mean, also we're in a weird time, I think, and the Giants are in a really weird time. I think that a guy, I mean, this is the baseball in me, and the deadline does not work, as we mentioned before, like baseball, but like Theo Johnson, I think would be a great guy to put on the block because he has really had a great, tight end. Everybody's looking for a tight end. This is the baseball in me. Everybody's looking for a great tight end, a guy who has had recent success. Football is pretty recency biased. Guy you could put up, get something for, but you're not really going to see that. I don't really see them making any major moves at all because, again, they're in a major transition. They're probably going to fire Brian Daboll, which I don't think he's 100% of the problem. I know we agree to disagree on that, but
no, he's a problem.
They're in a weird situation, and I don't see them making any major moves overall, though.
And yeah, I want to see some action at the trade deadline because it's always disappointing. It's always boring. I feel like one name that's been thrown around a ridiculous amount is Brian Thomas Jr. I think the Jaguars would be so stupid to trade him. I think that's just people looking for something to talk about because the NFL trade deadline is so boring.
It's garbage. It is terrible.
Well, and they're still in a wild card spot too, so they're not going to trade him.
Yeah, absolutely not. But moving on, Chris, the Bengals defense fails them yet again. They got into a shootout with the Bears, 47-42. They allow a score late in the fourth. It felt like they had the game in hand, and it's just time and time again, defense fails them. What do you think the Bengals' number one issue is on the defensive side of the ball?
I mean, it's the secondary. It's the same thing that lost them the Super Bowl. I mean, that's the most simple answer with that, but it's the secondary. It's the lack of ability to guard elite receivers or even good receivers. They couldn't guard DJ Moore. They couldn't guard Colston Loveland, and giving up all those points to a Bears team that is a good offense. Don't get me wrong. 47 points. That's a lot regardless of who you're playing. So this was very much an example of a Bengals loss that is symbolic of where they are as an organization right now. They were very lucky to make the Super Bowl a few years ago, and a lot of their weaknesses have been taken advantage of, and it's going to continue to get worse. I think that was a very big example of that. Caleb Williams, by the way, shout out to him with the 3 touchdowns, 280 yards passing, and Loveland with the 2 touchdowns. But that secondary, man, that's what kills them.
And Jason, according to Adam Schefter, the Bears could be looking to add players at the trade deadline. Who do you think some realistic names are that they might be able to go after?
I think they need to work on the defensive side of the ball because that was a heck of a game today, man. The Bengals, yeah, that defense is terrible. Back-to-back weeks of just letting teams come back and beat you. But I think they need a pass rusher. If you talked about Thibodeau going somewhere, I think the Bears can use him. Offensively, they've got weapons. Was it Mogini? I can't even say his name there.
A real quick clarification. Yeah. I was talking about the Browns being potential buyers.
Oh, I thought you said Bears. Sorry, Bears too. Well, Browns, I think they need some wide receiver help, offensive line. I know Shaheed and Waddle have been out there. I think they really need to load up for next year. Look, that defense in Cleveland is really, really good. Myles Garrett, probably defensive player of the year. He is an absolute stud. They're not going to be able to get a quarterback in this trade, because Gabriel, I don't think, is the answer. Sanders, he's a freaking mess. That is just toxic, whatever the heck is going on there. So, I mean, they need a quarterback, but I don't think that's happening in the trade. So I can see them going out and getting themselves another wide receiver. They need to pair somebody with Judy to get him some help. Running back, I think they're fine, but O-line, I think they need to stock up on that. So when they finally do have a quarterback, they got somebody to protect them. So I can see that happening there in Cleveland.
And the Browns are in a really weird spot because they need to be buyers, but they don't have a lot that they can afford to sell either.
Cap
which
help.
then begs the question, do they just need to gut it and fully rebuild? It's getting to that point. I mean, you got Myles Garrett on a massive contract. I hope they can win something for his sake because he's such a phenomenal player. I would hate to see him go his entire career without having some kind of postseason run.
Right.
Chris, the Ravens might be back. Lamar, they picked up a good win over the Dolphins. Yes, it's the Dolphins, so it's easy to look good against them. Their defense is still bad, so we don't want to get too excited now, but as we know, the Steelers can tend to have some mid to late season collapses, and Baltimore could be fixing to go on a hot streak. Chris, do you think that the Ravens can make a push for the playoffs?
I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, honestly. Baltimore with Lamar back is really good. I mean, Lamar going with the 204 yards, 4 touchdowns. Derrick Henry kind of having a resurgence as well. I mean, that's really what they need to do. They just need to connect with that offense. Defense has really been not great, as we mentioned, but I mean, Baltimore has an interesting schedule coming up. They have Minnesota. We're going to be talking about them later. They have Cleveland, very winnable game. New York Jets, very winnable, and Cincinnati. So the Pittsburgh games after that. And they still have the Steelers twice. I see us taking one game out of that. But honestly, I could definitely see them being in contention for a wild card if Lamar stays healthy, if the offense continues to fire on all cylinders. But again, their biggest failure has been when they get to the playoffs, they end up facing like a Kansas City or a Buffalo team. That defense ends up being the Achilles heel. So even if they do make the playoffs, I still see it being a same result because they're not addressing the problem.
Shannon's saying the Browns have been good more than the jack-o'-lantern on my front porch. They can't take any more. Browns have been a mess for my entire lifetime. And Jason, last question before we preview the primetime game. The Lions took what I thought was a surprising loss to the Vikings in J.J. McCarthy's first game back from his injury. Are you concerned with this loss for Detroit, or are the Vikings better than their record might indicate?
Well, the Vikings are better than their record indicates. I think their defense is really good. It's nothing to be ashamed of. And I just didn't understand a lot of the play calling, the game plan. They didn't run the ball at all. Look, Gibbs only had 25 yards. They only ran him 9 times. Montgomery, he had 40 yards and a touchdown. Goff was sacked 5 times. So that offensive line was suspect. You know, they had some good passes to St. Brown and to Laporta and the passing game. But it was just they allowed the Vikings to really just dictate the line of scrimmage and really muscle them and push them down. And J.J. McCarthy coming back from injury, he had a solid game. And they executed their game plan, and that defense showed up, shut down the run game. And if you're Detroit, you need that run game to open up the pass game, and that shows. And, you know, no run game, Goff gets sacked, you lose. So, I mean, there's the recipe. So all you other teams out there, especially in the NFC, the Vikings just laid out the blueprint on how to beat the Lions. Shut the run game down, put a little pressure on Goff, and you can come out with a win.
All right. And before we move on to the Seahawks Commanders preview, Jason, you had texted me saying you had something that you wanted to throw out there, and I have no idea what this is. So, Jason, the floor is all yours.
Well, I appreciate that. I know this is your show, and I appreciate you letting me do that here. But I watched the Jaguars Raiders game today, and Mr. Little just kicked the league leading 68-yard field goal. So my question is, and this is kind of, I would say a little controversial, but I was thinking of this in here. I want to know, we'll start with you, Aaron. How happy is the NFL that Little broke the field goal record, that they no longer have to acknowledge Tucker having that field goal with everything going on with him surrounding the Baltimore Ravens and his exit? So kind of a little, I don't want to say tainted, because I mean, like, look, you know, I'm going to say something a little bit like that. But now the NFL is very, very excited. They don't have to put him in the record books. Little now takes that spot with a 68-yard field goal, which I think he could have made that thing from 70 plus yards. Man, that thing was ridiculous. But Aaron, what are your thoughts on that? Do you think the NFL really is exciting that they no longer have to worry about having him as the field goal record holder?
I think I would say they're probably relieved. I don't know if I would say excited because, I mean, this is a league that has continually propped up players who have done incredibly heinous things with very minimal punishment.
Right.
We've seen it time and time again. It is a ongoing issue that is very rarely adequately addressed. I mean, look at Deshaun Watson. The man has generational wealth and has to functionally do nothing for it. So I'd say they're more relieved that they can kind of just put that on the back burner without having to do anything. And obviously props to Cam Little. I feel like he's going to break that record again himself in a few weeks. He'll hit a 70-yarder. Jacksonville's going to give him a chance to do it too, because why not? But I would say the NFL is probably more relieved than excited.
What are your thoughts, Chris? Again, I don't know. I thought it's an interesting thing to think of, but that's kind of the biggest thing that stood out to me when he made that kick.
Hey man, shout out Cameron Little. I mean, he was fantastic in the preseason. I picked him up in fantasy a bunch just because he's a really good kicker and it's a really good offense. I kind of agree with Aaron here. I mean, they're going to be relieved. Obviously, Justin Tucker and that whole situation is not a really good thing. You're always trying to do stuff for PR, but I mean, I'm more going to focus on the individual who did a good thing. I'm not going to focus on the individual who did a bad thing. Cameron Little did really, really good, has 68-yard field goal. That was really cool to watch. And I'm happy to see a new record. I'm happy I got to see that on Red Zone. So, and if overall NFL relieved, I'm sure from their point of view, but I can't speak for them. They're a league. I am not a league. I'm just a guy. But overall, a better person to hold the record, more than likely. I don't know Cameron Little personally, but better person.
Yeah, and it definitely was interesting. And yeah, shout out Little. I know he's been having some struggles this year. Came in with a lot of hype after he made that 70-yard field goal in the preseason. So for him to hit that, and then also the Jags to get the win, that was huge. It was a huge stop there in overtime to stop the 2-point conversion. But I just thought that was interesting that they no longer have to look at that glaring record holder anymore. So I just thought it was interesting. I appreciate you letting me bring that up, Aaron. Thank you.
There's a worse kicker in the NFL anyway. So
alrighty, and moving on, we have the Seahawks and Commanders. And Jason, you mentioned the 49ers being really banged up. I think the Commanders might have it the worst out of any team. That wide receiver room, they cannot stay healthy.
Nope.
Jaden Daniels missed time, and for a team that had potential Super Bowl aspirations to be in the place that they are now is disappointing, to say the absolute least. They're sitting at 3-5. That is incredibly disappointing. I wouldn't have guessed it. The Seahawks are, I believe, only 2.5-point favorites in this game, which did surprise me a little bit. I think the Seahawks aren't getting the credit that they deserve. Jackson Smith-Njigba is having a monster season. Now he is the clear wide receiver 1 in Seattle, with DK Metcalf now in Pittsburgh. Happy to see him balling out. But Jason, do you think the Commanders are going to be able to overcome the injury bug and pull off an upset over the Seahawks?
Man, that's going to be tough. You need offensive firepower to kind of keep pace with the Seahawks, man. They got a dual threat running back with Walker and I like a little cheese with my Charbonnet, my man Charbonnet there. Jackson Smith-Njigba's on fire. A.J. Barner at the tight end position. So, I mean, they got weapons there. And Sam Darnold, again, you talk about a guy rejuvenated his career last year, revitalized it, however you want to say it, coming from Minnesota, coming over to Seattle. They thought, well, maybe coming here, he might have, fall off. Maybe last year was just aberration. So for him to come out and still be playing as well as he is, and to have that team right in the thick of that NFC West division is phenomenal. So, but Daniels being hurt, he just hasn't had a lot of momentum. He's been off and on, especially with the injuries popping in and out. So it's hard in this league to really get ahead of a team when you don't have a lot of reps, when you haven't had a lot of positivity and good wins to hang your hat on. And, he's been hurt and coming in there, and you don't have any compliment. I mean, they're running back, Bill is okay. They just don't have any wide receivers, so I don't know. I don't think they're going to be able to hold it. That defense has been sketchy. Washington definitely has had a lackluster season after being impressive last year. They are definitely the tops or one of the many teams this year that have fallen short of expectations coming into the season. So I think Seattle's going to blow the doors off of them.
And I'm inclined to agree with you. I think it's going to be a definitive Seahawks win. I think a 2.5 point favorites is absolutely ridiculous. We got to respect the Seahawks more than this. The Commanders, they're too banged up to be able to get this win. Seattle's having a great year. I was worried about Darnold going to Seattle with the issues on the offensive line that they've had for ages now, and I'm happy to be proven wrong. Very happy to see Darnold doing well on yet another team. Chris, you're the last pick. Are you going to jinx it and also pick the Seahawks so that the Commanders actually win? How do you have this Sunday night game playing out?
This is an interesting one because I'm very one thing I do want to mention is it is incredibly crazy. And I'm sure CBS with Jim Nantz and Tony Romo were the reason behind this, that the Bills and Chiefs game were not the night game, because regardless of how Washington ended up, we talked about, Jason mentioned that, how Washington is not, we expect them to be, not being the night game. Side point. But I really think that the keys to the game for Washington are being able to protect Jaden Daniels. He is playing tonight. He is injured. They're going to need to be able to spread the ball. No Terry McLaurin, which is a really, really big deal. Deebo Samuel is really going to need to step up. I really do think that Seattle's offense overall is objectively better. We're not seeing this NFC championship type team that we've seen from Washington right now. I think it's going to be a lot closer than you guys are putting it. I really do think that Vegas does have it right. Would you say like a +2.5, right, Aaron?
I think so, yeah.
I really do think that is a good pick. So I'm going to jinx it. I'm going to say that because Jaden Daniels is playing, I'm going to be that guy, and I've been that guy, and sometimes it's been right and sometimes it's been wrong. I'm going to go with Washington. I'm going to go with Washington. I'm going to go with them by a field goal. I think that Jaden Daniels just by himself, him and Deebo, are going to manage to get through. Krotsky Merritt, who's had a really, really bad couple of weeks from the running back position, will manage to get a couple rushing touchdowns. And I think Washington will get back there because they made the NFC Championship last year. They do not want to be this mediocre team. I think they've been a victim of injuries this year, and as long as they can protect Jaden Daniels, I think they'll be right back in it. That'll be a statement win for the Commanders. I got the Commanders.
Wow.
Okay.
Wow.
Chris, I respect it, and that'll do it for week 9 of the Gridiron Address. In case you haven't seen the little tagline under my name, Panthers Steelers, Super Bowl 60. It's going to happen. It's going to be spectacular. Jason, quit shaking your head. Your team has a losing record. You have no room to talk. It's going to happen. I'm totally being realistic. Anyways, hope everybody has a good rest of your night.